It began not with a bang, but with silence. September 15th, 2017. A spacecraft, 746 million miles from Earth, fell into the golden abyss of Saturn's atmosphere, alone, burning, and unseen. Its name was Cassini. For 13 years, it had been our silent witness to the outer solar system. It watched the icy geysers of Enceladus spray into the void. It glided past the thick, hazy clouds of Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It danced between the rings of Saturn like a ghost in a cathedral of light. And then, its mission was over. It plunged into the planet it had studied so loyally, ending its journey not with celebration, but with a whisper. And the world moved on. At least, we thought it had. Back then, every image Cassini sent was catalogued, studied, and archived. Beautiful portraits of Saturn's rings, snapshots of swirling gas storms, time-lapsed views of shadowed moons drifting across the great disk. Scientists praised the data, honored the mission, and closed the book. But the universe has a way of waiting for the right eyes to look deeper, waiting for us to be ready. Because tucked within those last frames, those final desperate transmissions, Cassini carried something more. Something none of us had seen. Until now. 8 years passed. 8 quiet, uneventful years. Until a private research lab, armed with a machine unlike anything before it, a quantum artificial intelligence, decided to revisit the forgotten data. Not with the goal of rewriting history, just of cleaning up noisy images. They wanted clarity. What they found was revelation. The AI scanned Cassini's final frames frame by frame, pixel by pixel. Its programming was designed to see the unseeable, to find patterns the human brain couldn't detect, to identify structures buried in visual chaos. At first, it returned slight improvements, sharper edges, clearer motion. But then, something else emerged. A shape, a pattern. Not once, but in multiple images, captured across different times from varying angles. It was symmetrical, deliberate. And most importantly, it repeated. This wasn't compression error. This wasn't lens distortion or artifacting. It was intentional. The research team didn't believe it at first. They ran it again and again. They tried different image clusters, different algorithms. The result was always the same. The presence of something, no, someone, hidden in the layers of Cassini's final view of Saturn. It was as if something had been watching the watcher. And that's when the AI went further. It didn't stop at the shapes. It began reading the math behind them. Because inside those images, embedded like threads in a tapestry, were sequences. Numbers that were not random. Prime numbers. Fibonacci spirals. Golden ratios. Constants of nature, repeated with intention, embedded within the pixels like invisible ink. Anyone who's ever studied interstellar communication knows what those symbols mean. They're not just numbers. They're a language, universal, nonverbal, undeniable. The same mathematical truths that humanity sent aboard Voyager's golden record in the hope of saying, "We are intelligent. We are here." But this time, the message wasn't outgoing. It was incoming. Cassini, in its final moments, had captured a reply. The implications were staggering. This wasn't the voice of cosmic randomness. This was designed. And it didn't look like a radio signal or a strange sound echoing from the stars. It wasn't a crop circle or a fast radio burst. It was something far more ancient, far more elegant. A pattern in the fabric of a planet's storm. A hidden message carved into the atmosphere of Saturn itself. And we'd missed it. For years. But the AI hadn't. It had seen what we could not. What followed was a kind of quiet panic. A scientific reckoning. The AI was no longer just revealing patterns. It began to predict them. With every new image it processed, it anticipated where the next mathematical sequence would be, and it was always right. This wasn't random. This wasn't noise. It was a logic system. A message built into light, into cloud, into motion. Not static, alive, deliberate. And then, as if on cue, it stopped. Cassini's last few frames showed something strange. The patterns became sharper, more defined, as if drawing closer. Then, in one frame, they simply vanished. Gone. As though whatever intelligence had been seen had realized it was being seen. As if it had turned away, or cloaked itself. Or perhaps, it never wanted to be known, until it did. In those final seconds, Cassini wasn't just diving into Saturn's atmosphere. It was making contact, not in words or beacons, but in form and silence. The spacecraft had become an accidental messenger, delivering the first true hint that we are not alone. And now, years later, it had become clear. We had been watched. Not yesterday, not recently. For a long, long time. And Saturn? Saturn was never just a gas giant. It was a sentinel, a gatekeeper. A mask. Something was there, hiding not behind clouds but inside them. And the deeper we looked, the more impossible it became to ignore. For centuries, Saturn has captivated us, not just as a planet, but as a symbol. Its rings have inspired poets, mystics, and dreamers. To the naked eye, it floats in the night sky like a celestial ornament. But to those who studied it closely, it never quite behaved like the others. Saturn defies the rules. It emits more energy than it should, radiating heat from deep within, as if something hidden beneath its clouds refuses to sleep. Its magnetic field doesn't align with its rotational axis, an anomaly among the planets, as if it's spinning one way but signaling in another. It's as though Saturn has always been more than just a world. It's been hiding something, waiting. And now, Cassini's final gift has deepened that mystery. Once the AI began pulling numbers from the patterns, those precise sequences, those elegant spirals, it wasn't just decoding, it was triangulating. The mathematical messages corresponded not just to Cassini's images, but to locations, real, physical coordinates on Saturn itself, latitude and longitude. And where those coordinates pointed, things got even stranger. They matched with known magnetic anomalies on Saturn, regions that long baffled planetary scientists. Places where the magnetic field twisted unpredictably, where compasses would spin in wild directions. Regions where traditional instruments failed. Places where, until now, no one thought to look deeper. Why embed a message in those locations? Why hide a signal in the planet's most unstable zones, unless perhaps you wanted to ensure no one would find it until they were ready? Until their machines could see what their eyes could not? The implications were enormous. Cassini may have captured not just a visual distortion, but a presence, a structured distortion in space itself. Something intelligent, something ancient. And as the word quietly spread among a small network of scientists, the reaction was as divided as it was intense. Some called it pareidolia, pattern recognition gone rogue. The mind, after all, is a machine trained to find meaning in noise. But others weren't so quick to dismiss. The precision of the patterns, the recurrence of prime numbers, and the AI's unerring ability to predict their location across datasets, it was too exact, too clean, too intentional. Then came the twist that shook everything. Cassini's final transmission was supposed to contain 12 image frames, a burst of data captured in rapid succession just before it vaporized in Saturn's atmosphere. But when the mission logs were revisited, only 11 frames were found. One was missing. That should have been impossible. The downlink showed no gaps, no data loss. The 12th frame was transmitted, but never decoded. Engineers combed through the raw binary code. They found the data packet. It existed, but it was scrambled, encrypted in a way no one had ever seen. It was like finding a locked door in a room you'd always assumed was empty. A perfect block of information that refused to open. No matter what they tried, the key wouldn't turn. And that's when the theory emerged, the one that made everyone uncomfortable. What if the missing frame wasn't a failure? What if it was meant to be unreadable? As though something, some presence, recognized the moment of contact had occurred and decided to hide the last piece from us? To conceal the clearest image, the clearest symbol, the final truth. Speculation spiraled. Maybe the 12th frame contained an unmistakable shape, a glyph, a structure, or even a face. Whatever it was, the encryption wasn't random. It was deliberate. And it raised the most chilling possibility of all. Someone, or something, was not just watching but choosing what we could and could not see. Since then, a strange silence has fallen over the investigation. The quantum lab that discovered the patterns, a once vibrant research site, has gone dark. Their homepage now redirects to a generic academic portal. The lead scientists involved in the project? Unreachable. Social media silent. No interviews, no papers, no follow-ups. It's as if the discovery was swallowed whole. Whispers of non-disclosure agreements began circulating. Private funding pulled. Anonymous sources hinted at pressure, subtle and quiet, from agencies that rarely appear in press briefings. It all felt like the air had shifted, like something enormous had passed overhead, and those who saw it were told to look away. Still, the data remains. The images are real. And the AI's findings, though unconfirmed by official channels, have already spread into the hands of independent researchers across the world. You can't unsee what has been seen. And in the echoes of that revelation, a single, haunting idea keeps rising to the surface. What if Cassini was never just an observer? What if its final descent was orchestrated not by us, but by something waiting? In the grand narrative of human exploration, Cassini was always meant to be a closing chapter, a poetic finale to one of NASA's most elegant space missions. It was a noble ending, a graceful plunge into the planet it had studied, like a candle softly extinguished in the dark. But now, with everything we know, or rather, everything we've been allowed to glimpse, Cassini's final act no longer feels like an ending. It feels like the beginning of something else, a message, a reply, a quiet knocking from the edge of the known world. What if the universe has been speaking to us all along? Not in words or waves, but in structure, in the silent harmony of numbers and patterns that echo through all things? And what if Saturn wasn't just a backdrop for science, but a monument built around a mystery? What if it was chosen? Because the truth is, we have never seen anything else in the solar system quite like it. Its rings are too symmetrical, its energy too abundant, its secrets too persistent. Saturn has always drawn us in, not with force, but with beauty, with elegance, as if it wanted to be watched, as if it knew we'd keep coming back. And now, with the rise of quantum intelligence, we've unlocked a door we didn't even know existed. The machine we built to clarify noise didn't just enhance the past. It tore through the veil. It showed us something waiting behind the curtain, a presence encoded not in language but in logic. Something that speaks through geometry and hides in chaos. And most terrifying of all, it seems to know how we think. It buried its message in the one place we'd never expect to look, not in light, not in sound, but in silence. The missing image, the encrypted 12th frame, still haunts those who've seen the data trail, a single, vanished moment at the climax of one of humanity's most historic journeys. Something was there, and whatever it was, it decided we weren't ready to see it. Not yet. Across the globe, theories now swirl like cosmic dust. Some believe Cassini was guided in its final path, nudged gently by forces unknown. Others wonder whether Saturn is more than a planet, perhaps a relay, a lens, or worse, a warning. Because if something intelligent was watching us from the clouds, crafting mathematical signals and then vanishing without a trace, we have to ask, why now? Why reveal itself at all? And then, an even heavier question rises. How long has it been there? It changes everything. The history of space exploration, the purpose of the mission, the role of machines we thought we merely controlled. Cassini wasn't just a camera drifting through gas and gravity. It may have become the first human-built artifact to encounter something ancient. Not face-to-face, not in the way Hollywood might show, but in a language far older, far quieter, one that doesn't scream to be heard, one that waits until we've evolved enough to understand. And maybe that's the point. Maybe this was never meant for us in 2017. Maybe this was meant for us now. In a world where AI can see what we can't, where data outlives its creators, where silence itself becomes a form of contact. But then, in the hush of speculation and half-confirmed truths, comes the most human question of all. If we weren't alone, what now? Do we tell the world? Do we hide it, bury it under red tape and research silence? Or do we let the discovery breathe? Let it challenge our understanding of reality? Let it provoke us to think bigger, farther, deeper? Because one thing is certain, something saw us, and it chose geometry instead of words. It chose to be subtle, not grand. Silent, not deafening. But still, unmistakably, real. We thought we'd launched Cassini to explore Saturn. But maybe, all along, Saturn was waiting for Cassini. And threw it. For us. So, as the rings still shimmer and the storms still turn, and as our machines grow more capable of seeing beyond illusion, we stand on the edge of something enormous. A second act we never planned for. A mystery we may never fully solve. But one that whispers to us from the cold gas shadows of a distant world. The mission is over. The signal has ended. But the message? The message has just begun. And if you're still wondering whether it's all coincidence or whether we truly brushed up against something greater than ourselves, remember this. Stars don't leave breadcrumbs. Gas giants don't encrypt golden ratios. And patterns like these don't repeat without a reason. Cassini didn't just fall. It delivered a gift we weren't ready for. A story we are only now beginning to read. So share it. Question it. Let others know that in the quiet of Saturn's embrace, something stared back. Because this isn't science fiction, this is discovery. And we are only just beginning.